Good afternoon and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete Lumpton, and we're joined here with Christy Doherty. Good afternoon, Christy.
Good afternoon, Pete. Good to see you.
Thank you. Yes, so Christy, who are you? What do you do? Give us a quick headline.
Yeah, chance to blow the trumpet, I guess. 43 years of old. Married. I'm the old with one child. She's 10, and I'm the oldest of three children. Grew up obviously from Derry. I've been in sales the last 20 years. My vocation was pretty much a vacation. So I was living in Spain, Portugal, Italy, Dubai, and the United States. So, 20 years at the front end in sales. So I've learned a lot from that. I'm also, I guess I can say today that I'm an author. I've just published the first book. It's getting edited. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a couple of businesses that some have been successful, others haven't. Property investor, few houses that I have here in Derry, which can keep me awake at night. And yeah, something that's will come out in this as well. I'm a boxing coach. And that's one of the big passions for me, the boxing side and bringing all that together.
Brilliant. Wow, I'm going to look forward to this now. So tell me this, what does Fire in the Belly mean to you?
Oh, I mean, Pete, I met you for the first time back in October, November. It was you organised a mastermind think tank group at it was the Beach Hill Hotel. It was a brilliant day, and I encourage anybody that's watching this, they get involved in that type of thing. But for me, that was Fire in the Belly. You'd asked us to do an exercise that morning. I'd never met you. There was no agenda or brief. But very quickly after the introductions, not knowing anybody in that room, you'd asked us to all get up and stand on and give a TEDx of what your goals are, where you're at now, where you're going, what you've done in the past, what's your Fire in the Belly. And I guess without any script, without any pre-knowledge or any understanding of everybody's characters in the room, to get up and stand for 14 minutes without a script and get more passionate, more driven, more focused. And actually, that's what Fire in the Belly is for me, because I got Fire in the Belly that day. And it also opened up while I was on stage. Well, I wasn't on stage. I was the first up, so I had to lead the way, if you remember. But being able to talk and then ideas coming in and then going, right, now I get it. Now I get what Fire in the Belly is. Now I get where I want to go. And, that for me is Fire in the Belly, that drive, passion, commitment. It comes naturally as well. And then it just spurs you to do everything else that you do.
Brilliant. Couldn't have said it better. Love that. It's fantastic. So tell me, take us right back, Kirsty. So where are you from? Where you born and your upbringing?
Obviously born and bred in Derry, and I've come full circle. I'm back here now. And I grew up in the shadow of City Derry Golf Club out in Brahen, which is a phenomenal place to grow up, I guess. You're surrounded by the golf club was the back garden, which meant we just hopped over the fence, threw a ball down and cracked away. And we did that, me and my brother and a couple of friends, for 10 or 12 years. It's the most prestigious golf club in Derry, and nobody, it's doctors, lawyers, judges, all sorts of high-end, high polloi were the members. Yet us little scallywags were hopping over a fence, throwing a ball down and waving to the esteemed members, and they thought we were members. Never paid for a game in my life, ever, until I moved away from Brahen. But so I grew up in Brahen, the woods, the football pitches, the boating house, the great outdoors, and that gave me the passion and love of all things outdoors, because it was on our doorstep. We kicked ball in the street, but we played in the woods. We got up to all sorts of carry on, and it was a fun time. I was the kid in the street that other kids, maulers, told them not to play with. I'd write my name on every wall I could. I had markers. I was disruptive in a way, but and my best friend's father just told me there, he just lives across the street. I was his best man. I always knew he didn't like me when we were kids, but we were just talking a few weeks ago, having a beer before all this COVID stuff. And he did say that after all these years, I was a lovable rogue as a kid. I didn't like seeing him coming, but there was no harm in him. So I think that sort of gives you a background of the sort of character. Lovable rogue.
Fair play. I love that. So tell me, how was school for you at that age?
Kind of not great. I didn't have a great attention span. I wasn't academically brilliant. I was kind of clever enough, but I didn't like it. My mind would wander to, football, boxing, golf. When I started remembering back to school, I got into the odd bit of baller in the playground, as people do. But in my younger years, school was good. It was a small school. I think there was about 15 people in our classroom. It was a small school just outside New Buildings, just outside the city. And yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. We had a great little football team. Because we were such a small school, we didn't have an 11-a-side team like some of the bigger schools. We had a really good 5-a-side team, and for 2 years in a row, we were 5-a-side champions of Northern Ireland. So, you know, because we probably only had 7 players, but it was half of that team went on to play for Roma, Glentoran, Derry City. So it was a really, you know, it was competitive, and, you know, the standards were quite high.
Sounds like you were always out and about then. You were pretty much an outdoors kind of child.
Yes, never. I wasn't a gamer. Didn't fall for the, you know, the Ataris and Amstrads, and where some friends were playing that stuff. Never really bothered me. It was more, you know, golf courses in the back door. You know, I would have hopped up over if nobody wanted to play it. I went away myself and played. I also would have wandered around the woods and messed about. I had a little dog and a little Staffordshire Bull Terrier who went everywhere with me. So when I was growing up, teens, they are 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and onwards. So yeah, always outdoors. It was because of where we grew up, I guess. Brahen, you know, was 3 miles from the city, but it was surrounded, and it was engulfed in woods and golf courses and then the river. So you had everything there to stay out. So there was no, and plus my mum, you know, the oldest with 3 kids, get out and enjoy yourself. Don't be hanging around here. So there was that, you know, we were forced out as much as anything.
I'm sure your mum had her hands full looking after you guys then. So.
Oh yeah, and me in particular, my brother is a sort of gentler soul, quieter. He's followed me into sales. I got him into it. He was a jack of all trades, and managed to get him into sales, and he's a very different type of sales personality to me. He's probably calmer, more relaxed, and then my sister, she's a nurse, but she was obviously, you know, the daddy's girl growing up. But yeah, I guess I was the one getting into. They went on to secondary or the college and grammar schools and stuff. I didn't make it down that route, so I was the sort of one that was I should have been leading by example, and I certainly wasn't. I don't think.
So, were you the baby then of the family?
No, I was the oldest.
You're the oldest, right? Okay.
Yeah, 2 years between my brother and me, and then 2 years between my younger brother and sister. So 4 years in total. So yeah.
Oh wow, there's a good spread between you.
Yeah.
So who do you take after then? Your mother or father or somebody else?
Hey, I've often thought that. As I get older, I'm definitely morphing into my dad, which is freaking me out a little. I've taken him to Old Trafford a few times, and I can see things that I'm doing, mannerisms and talk and etc. So, but you know, my dad's the sort of businessman. He's had his own business, you know, for years and taught us about money and business and stuff. But my mum's the sort of positive go-getter, big into spirituality and goal set and all that sort of stuff. So you're taking up elements of both, I guess. Do you know what I mean? Definitely. So it's neither is the answer, but I can see myself and my dad and morphing on, but I can see my mindset, I guess, and attitude to learning through my mother, who was a lifelong learner as well.
So what did your mother and father do then?
My mum was a civil servant for years, Department of Agriculture, and was involved in all sorts of stuff. She was sung in the Derry Conkill Choir, sung for Bill Clinton in the White House. Very talented singer, choir singer, I guess. There was a group of them all went to America for St. Patrick's Day. My dad, the Doherty family were quite well known in Tamnair and Eglinton area for over the years. They were back in my grandfather set up. There was a Doherty's potato merchants. We supplied all the supermarkets, chip shops, owned some land out in Tamnair. So they were merchants. My dad's the oldest of 13. So when my granddad then got too old, so my father took over the business. And then obviously with supermarkets and Tesco's and the change in buying and sourcing products, I guess, going multinational, it just became smaller and smaller. And he ran it down. He's 72, but he ran it to he was 70. So he gave it up 2 years ago. But, you know, done very well respected. And yeah, so he'd never worked for anybody for all his life. It was just in business the whole time. And I guess when I was growing up, we used to have mobile shops. So he was always doing something. There was a shop, a physical shop that he purchased and ran for a few years and then sold it back to the owner. And then when I was about 15, 16, he had the vans that drive around the housing estates and beeps the horn, and the locals come out and buy their bread, milk and eggs and stuff and cigarettes. So he had one of those that went very well. And I think that's how I got introduced to smoking at a young age, stealing cigarettes after my shift. I wasn't getting paid. I was getting paid in penny sweets and and things. So it was a crash course in dealing with customers, 14, 15, 16. And then the rogue element side of me used to steal a packet of cigarettes for the boys, and we'd head off into the Braham Woods and hover around and smoke a 10-pack, a Regal Filter, in a record 5 minutes, and then cough our way back to the house stinking of smoke, you know. So that's the sort of stupidity that we kind of got up to as kids.
I'm sure your parents kind of might have suspected what was going on.
Oh yeah. My dad started realizing then that I think Regal Filter was his top seller back then, so he kind of knew it wasn't stacking up the numbers, and I didn't think he would ever catch on, but he did. So we ended up having to steal Park Drive. These are the ones without the filters. Nobody really bought them, so he didn't really care about them, but he was wondering where all his Regal Filter were going. So we started stealing Park Drive, and then got up and smoking those. And when you smoke one of those, you tended to lie down for about 20 minutes till your head came round. Never that strong, but yeah, all good times.
So tell me, what was your first job then? Was it with your dad there? Was it?
My first job was with my dad. I was weighing potatoes in the 2 kilo, 2.5 and 5 kilo bags. I was driving and reversing lorries around 10 or 11 under the big yard. I've enjoyed that more than weighing spuds. Spuds we called them. And then I got into the shopkeeping side of things. But I guess the first real job where I got paid, because you don't get paid when you're your dad, you just do it, and it's a learning curve. But I worked in Dunn stores. I got a job. I can't remember what age I was. I was still at school anyway, secondary school or Dairy Tech, and I got a job in Dunn stores. And I used to have to go out to the warehouse and load up. Well, I was in the drink side and load up this big cart with 6 packs of 2 liters of Fanta and stack them as high as you can, and then push them out onto the shop floor. And then you had to push really hard to get this trolley to move, get the momentum. And then when you come through the doors of the warehouse out into the shop floor, you'd have been met by a customer coming with a trolley, and you had to pull the brakes and slow down. I didn't have the mentality for that. I was very short-fused. I used to crack up, as for want of a better word, and just to get frustrated. So the manager said, "Listen, I'm going to move you into the warehouse. You're better behind the curtain as opposed to out there." Because it was a rocky start, but I done about a year or two, and I was in the warehouse, and I really enjoyed that. And getting my beer tokens as well at the weekend was the most important thing.
Do you remember what you were paid at the time?
Oh, enough to buy beer. I can't remember what it was. To be honest, it's gone back so long, but it was £5 or £4 an hour or something like that, or 3 something an hour even. But we were just a tech. It was really, you might have done 20 hours a week as well. A full day, and a couple of Thursday, Friday late nights, and then a full day on a Saturday, and maybe a few Sunday hours. So yeah, it was enough to keep you going. And back then as well, it was the least amount of money I was ever earning. Obviously, my first job, but I was wearing the dearest clothes. I don't know where I was getting the money. I was buying the Ralph Lauren shirts and the Diesel jeans and the Nike Air slippers. Everything had to be the best of the best back then.
Fair play, yeah. Well, I'm sure. Well, where would you have gone out? Were you in Eglinton?
Yeah. Local, around. We used to have a few beers at the Braham Boathouse, get the Dutch Courage up, and then walk in from the boathouse and in the line, cross the bridge, and then get a bus from Foyle Street down to the place called the Venue. And then you kind of gravitated out of the Venue to a place called the Point Inn. So you got a bus from Central Derry down to the Point Inn, which was Quigley's Point, Muff direction. But back then in those younger days, it was, the Venue and some of the bars around the city centre, and, thinking you were the top dog. Yeah. Good stuff. Great times as well.
Fair play. So secondary school then, how was that for you?
Good. I kind of realised when I'd failed my 11 plus and I went into secondary school, and all my best friends had all went to St. Colum's College together. I'm stuck in a class. Didn't know anybody. The class was 5 times the size. Now going from a class of 10, 11 or 12, 15 people, whatever it was, to a class of 35, and you're like, whoa, this is different. And I think it was secondary school, I kind of wised up a wee bit, and it's like, I'm going to have to work a little bit harder, pay a wee bit more attention. But say I went to a mixed school, integrated Catholic Protestant boys and girls. So it was good, came from a mixed area as well. So, the Braham area was very mixed Catholic and Protestant families. And it was but the school, going into the school, the Templemore school, it was good to meet people that I would never have met because I lived in Brahane and Shelter. There's people from all the sort of Craigan area and Derry, the Bogside, and then people from Coshquin and all sorts. So it was good. It was a melting pot. And yeah, I suppose that's when the interest in girls developed as well. You know, first or second year, all these lovely girls in the classroom that I'd never seen around the fields of Brahane. I'm like, all right, I'm going to enjoy this.
I love it. I love it. So tell me, what had you a favorite subject in school, or what would
Yeah,
you?
geography, and that would the hands down geography. And I guess that's why it's by no coincidence that in later life, you know, I used to look at maps of the world and just stare at capital. You know, I used to memorize all the capital cities, populations of cities, what the ecosystems and natural physical resources, all that stuff. And I still have an interest in that. So yeah, geography was it. And then obviously at that age, I knew I wanted to travel the world. You know what I mean? That's why I looked at atlases. That's why I looked at maps. And I wanted to have a fascination with America. I have an American visa. I could live there now if I want. So, but it was at a young age. And that's going back, you know, it was an Encyclopedia Britannia set that my father bought. That had in the house. I used to just look at volume 20, which is maps and countries and stuff. I was fascinated by that. So geography, and I guess that's why I knew I was going to travel the world with my job, for my love of it.
Did you know anyone that traveled, or where did that come from?
I had an uncle called Chris Muller, my Muller's brother, who lived in America. He's from Strabane, shipped out to San Francisco, lived and died there for 30 years. He sadly passed in San Francisco, working, doing what he loved. He just took he was unfortunately dead before he hit the ground. But knowing Chris, that's how he would have wanted to go. A real character, and an uncle that I looked up to. I liked a lot as well, because he was, you know, when you're growing up, he's sound, and he knew the crack as well when he came home. Plus, he used to send gifts back all the time, packages from America that had books and flags and American stuff that you just didn't get in Derry, and you were just delighted to get. So, yeah, he was the sort of, you know, I was named after him, I guess, Christopher. It's also the patron saint of travelers, for anybody that gives a toss about that. But yeah, so he traveled, and I guess it was my destiny to travel as well.
So you went through secondary school then, and what stage did you exit out of it?
I went through secondary school. I've done the whole 5 years. Got the GCSEs. I think I got 6 GCSEs, and the options were limited. I went into construction at a Northwest Regional College, a construction course. I was standing on a building site about 2 weeks into it with some tripod thing. I don't even know what it was, and I'm like, "What am I doing? This is not for me. This is not for me." Tried to go back. I said to the course guy, you know, I need to change course. This isn't for me. I don't even know why I applied for it. I just like the idea of construction, but I need to get into something. So I got into the business class was full. I said, I want to get into business. I should have went down business and finance anyway. They couldn't put me in, and they moved me into leisure and tourism, which was a mixture of, but you know, with leisure being the sporting element and tourism being the sort of geography side of it. So for me, right, okay, I'll give that a go. It was a GMVQ, I think they were called. Flew through that, and then got in and went on after that and done the HND as well. I moved into business and finance and done a HND. So that was the sort of tech years. 3 or 4 years I think I spent at Northwest College, and came out of it with a distinction HND. Yeah, good times again for the tech was meeting lots of people from all, not just Derry, and they were coming from all over the Northwest. The social side, that's when you really start going out and enjoying beers and the students' unions and girls, I guess, as well, you know, all those things. So the tech for me was, and I've met friends at the tech, 2 guys in particular, that I'm still very, very close with to this day. You know, Martin Dillon, a guy from Derry, and another guy, John Paul Nixon. We've stayed friends. I mean, I was on with Martin to the wee hours last night in WhatsApp, and I got slagging. We went to Germany together as part of a program that the tech were running. We lived for 3 weeks. It was just a laugh a minute. You know, so memories, lifelong friends were born from a Derry tech. It was really, really enjoyed the experience there. I think the tech for me then, you know, still at secondary school, I hadn't wised up to the ways of the world. It was when I was doing the tech then, there was a career teacher there, and they kind of said, you know, if you want, and when they asked what do you want to do, and when I told them what I wanted to do, they were going, you're really going to have to knuckle down. You're really going to have to apply yourself. You're really going to have to, because it was very easy to take. When you're at school, you're at school. You come in at 9 in the morning, you go home at 3 o'clock, and you have to be there. they freaking have a roll call. You're either present or you're not, and you can't just come in the morning, slip off. The tech you could. You know, there was a snooker hall at the bottom of the street. You know, I could have went down and played snooker, which was really tempting. Go for a beer, all sorts of things. So, you know, it was really, there was the flexibility of the tech, and I was one for abusing that flexibility, but was when a careers teacher said, you got to knuckle down. You have a wee bit of potential, so if you could knuckle down, that would be great.
So what is it that you wanted to do at that time? You know, what was the reason for knuckling down?
What's that, sorry?
You saying at the time there's something you wanted to do. What was that, you know?
Yeah, I get how I always wanted to be in business. I always wanted, in my head, at the tech, it was, I don't need to learn this stuff. See this freaking finance module, this human resources, this operations, this marketing. I'm going to work for my dad. I would take over my dad's business. Back then, it was really thriving, maybe 10 or 15 people working for him. You know, I'm just here because I have to be here. I'm too young to go into business. But in my head, I was going to do, you know, I always had that backup plan for on the family business or set something else up. But, you know, it was only then. So that's what I wanted to do, be in business. Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the careers teacher by chance?
Hey, I'll tell you this. I should. Ken something. Because it was actually the business that we have now, Station B&B, which is 18-bed B&B in Derry, boutique luxury 4-star. It used to be, it's a 200-year-old Victorian building. Now, there's a tunnel from the B&B that runs right underneath the B&B, right underneath the Northland Road. It drops you right out at where is now the Derry Tech. And it used to be, it used to be the house of the superintendent of the asylum. And the asylum was down at where Derry Tech is now. So the superintendent had a little walkway from his grand residence down to the asylum. We're going back 200 years here. But Ken, freaking hell, what is his name? He is my old careers teacher who's retired from the tech. He's the president of the sort of historical society of that era. So once we renovated and spent a significant amount of money renovating the B&B, we were on the Mark Patterson show, I believe, talking about it, and he listened and heard and said, I've got to meet these people. So he came up with all these artifacts and all this stuff, and the history of the building, the history of the superintendent, and you know the significance of it all. And then when I came through, then I could see him looking at me and going, "I know you. Where do I know you from?" And I was Ken McCormack.
There you
Ken
go.
McCormack. That just came to me. I knew it would. It's just so yeah. His name was Ken McCormack, and yeah, he was the careers teacher that sort of said, "Hey, you've got about knuckle down. You know what you want. You're very focused and driven, but your attendance is awful. You're running around here, and you're speaking to the teachers. You've got ability, but you could be better." Was a common theme in my reports. Could do better. Could work harder.
It sounds like obviously he had quite an impact on it. Was anyone else that really stood out for you?
Oh, again, hey, there was. I got into. I played football in those days. Old football coach who's passed away now. Oxy from Cliftonville, football local, one of the better teams in the city. We're always up there, thereabouts, under 13, 15, 17. A lot of time for Oxy when I was younger. He was the sort of guy that, I was always probably one of the shortest guys on the pitch, when I was growing up playing football, but I like playing centre forward. I like score a goal, but back then the two big heavy defenders just start throwing you about. So I was always tough enough and like getting stuck in. But Oxy moved me position. I remember saying, "I think you'll be brilliant. You got to go." So he changed me to a left back. I'm right-footed. Don't know what he was trying to tell me, but it worked. I play. I had a couple of good years playing for Brandon Harps and stuff as well. But yeah, Oxy was one of those coaches that pulled you aside and talked to you after the game and made you feel good, even if you had a bad game. So always just remember, if you had a bad game or you got skinned by a footballer and you were big 5-0 and, you're going, what, stuff this, I ain't coming back. But Oxley was one of the guys that sort of spoke to you walking out, coming out of the change rooms, and you know what, you were bouncing back the next night to training, and that was the first real value and experience of a coach outside of the parenting, the network at home that I ever had. And I was from under 13, 15 and 17. I played at that sort of local Derry and district level football.
Wow, fair play. So tell me then, so you through your HND with a distinction, what was happening then?
I needed money. Money was everything then, I guess. Needed beer tokens. I'd finished about May, I think it was, and I was actually I'm a liar. I was supposed to go to Dublin to Portobello Business College. I did go to Dublin to Portobello Business College and lasted for 2 days. Enrolled, got accepted. Hated it, hated Dublin, and I noticed I just don't like Dublin even to this day. It's just not been, and I go a lot with the boxing. That's unfortunately what the National Stadium is, but I just didn't like it. I didn't want to live there. I like it, but I don't want to live there. I think it's probably the better way of putting it. And came home. There was a company called Transtech, which was an engineering company that made cylinder head gaskets for Ford and Buick and all the big car American company set up in Campsie. And word was they were paying very well. Nobody told me at the time you were entering the pit of hell as a work environment. It was a foundry, hot, sweaty, dirty, smelly, the stench of the molten metal and stuff. So, but I didn't know that. I went down, and the goal was, hey, I need some summer money. I need to go down to Transtech. I'll go into Transtech. I'll do it in the summer, and then I'll go to McGee, or I'll go here, I'll go there, or whatever. I went to Transtech, and night shift, got signed on first night shift. I remember just going on. The guy takes you to your workstation, and they give you a little fettle, like a needle, and then the cast, the product would have come out of a machine. It was a sand cast, but it had flakes of sand over it. My job for 12 hours was just to fettle the sand off it. So, and then pass it to the next guy, and he would do something, then an arm would come out of the machine. And I couldn't get my head around this with them. Are you telling me I have to do this? What else do I have to do? And go, no, you just stand here. The machine will come out, the cast will come out, you sand it down and give it to the next boy, and we'll do that for the next 12 hours. But the money was good. I think it was about £1,400 a month. That's 22 years ago, whatever. More than 23 years ago. So I was going from being skint, all the time, and working in a supermarket and getting pocket money from folks, to getting £1,400 a month. So what I did, being quite impulsive straight away, which tied me into the working environment and meant I wasn't going to go back to school, was I went and got a car in HP. I don't know why. I was out earning money. I had one pay slip, three weekly pay slips. Back then, that was enough. Do you have a job? Yep. Do you have a pay slip? Yep. Okay. How much do you want? I got a Corsa SRA, a little black Corsa. And that was it. School was out. It was over. I'd settled into the working life because I had now commitments. I had outgoings, and I had a wardrobe to keep up to date, and then I had a car to pay for. And that's it. You can't, once you're in, you're out. You can't get out. You're committed, and that was the start of the road to work, I guess, in academia.
You were about 17, 18 at the time, were you?
Yeah, I think I was 18. I think I was 18 when I left there. 18, maybe 19 at that stage. And I was in Transtech, my first real proper full-time job, I guess. And 4 nights on, 3 off, 3 on, 4 off, 12, 2 weeks of days, 2 weeks of nights. Done that for about a year, 18 months. And it was actually something good. Something bad happened, but something good. There was a good outcome. I was at the end of my, I'm getting out of here. I can't do this the rest of my life for health, the lungs or smoke and stuff that was coming on. And then what happened was there was an aiming gas tank right by our machine, and the operator didn't install it on properly, and then fired up the machine, and the gas tank blew off and sprayed this aiming gas. So we were all choking pretty bad. Back then, we're like crazy. So I was off work for about a week, 2 weeks, and I was, quite sick and quite, wheezing quite a lot and out of breath quite a lot, and I wasn't even doing anything. It was just everything. So then one of the guys that was on the line with me said, "Hey, you know what? We're away to see Paddy McDermott, the solicitor. We're going to put a claim in," and did it. So they all put a claim in, and I thought, right, well, if it's good for them, it's good for me. I'm still not 100%. So they all put a claim in. I think Transtech offered really quickly. I'll just give you 2 grand. And back then, 2 grand was 2 grand. The guys just took the first claim. And I said, no, you know what, I'm going to get a second opinion. I'm going to go to the doctors. I'm going to go up to see the asthma clinic and all that sort of stuff. And I had to breathe into things. And my lung capacity was greatly affected. So the good thing that happened then was it was advised then, you know, don't take the 2.5 grand. There is some damage done to your lungs. There's absolutely medical, no doubt about it. And I was up in Belfast seeing a specialist. And, you know, I actually got a significantly, you know, double-digit cash payout. And that was the good thing that came out of Transtech, because I was only 20, 21 or whatever. And I bought my first property. I bought a property, which I still have. So yeah, that was the silver lining that came out of the very, very hard baptism of fire in the workplace.
So talk to us then about your first property.
Well, here's what happened. While I was in Transtech, I was in a car crash. It was a pretty bad one. Someone went on the back. We actually did get an insurance claim. £2,200 is what we got. It was a tire in the boot that saved our lives, and I was back middle. I should have been the elephant going through it was a spare tire, took the impact. It went, you know, the insurance guy said, you know, the tire was just mangled. So that saved our lives, 3 of us, me in particular. Got 2.5 grand. I'll not lie to you, we got the 2.5 grand, cashed it, and walked out of Bank Ireland and walked across to Thomas Cook, which was right across the street. Booked a holiday to Santa Ponsa. And I think I flew to Santa Ponsa with about £1,800 in cash. That's how reckless we were back then. I don't remember coming back with any, but I do remember my dad really going to town on me about how stupid and irresponsible, etc. So when the other claim came through, the double-digit one from Transtech, he took control. You're not getting it. There's some money to go and enjoy yourself, but you're going to invest that. You're at that age. Because I still haven't got the settle down, invest mindset, but I ended up buying a 4-bedroom semi-detached. Me and my father went and looked at it. It was going for 40,000 in Kilfennan and Derry, you know, red brick, Georgian style, white windows, white door, looked the part, front and back garden, nice leafy suburban area. Paid it, buy it. And we did. And went ahead and got the deal done. I owned my first house, and very quickly then learned the highs and lows of being a landlord and dealing with various types of tenants. But I still have the house. I raised money and had various businesses and stuff. So when I bought it for 43, I think within about 2 or 3 years, it was sitting. I remember getting it valued, you know, it was 70 or something. I was like, wow, this is easy. Took more money out, bought another house. Mm-hmm. Invested in some business, and that ran for a few years. So I think it had financed it up to about 100 grand at one stage, but it was worth 160 at the peak. 2007, I had it valued at 160,000. I should have sold. I owed 95 on it. I should have sold it. I was invited to sell it in 2 hours at 3 properties, and didn't. And then we all know what happened with the credit crunch, and the lights went out, and that house dropped down. I don't think it ever went negative. It just sat at its value, the 90, but it was worth 160 at one stage. Not sure what it's worth now. Probably 130.
So what were you, about 20 odd when you got your first house then?
Yeah. I mean, if I could turn back a clock, I would have done things a lot different. I was freeing up equity to do, you know, I probably would have invested wiser. Probably could have, if I had an expert counsel or mentor back then, I wouldn't have, or a partner or a mastermind, which is a big key word now. You know, I could have used the equity when I had equity in all the houses. They just build and grow a massive portfolio. I guess I did. I got into overseas property, which will come out, and you know, that was in our phase, and you know, we bought some property overseas. So if I could turn back a clock, I would have done things a lot differently to the way that that's a fact. But I didn't make any major mistakes. You know, back then money was just something that was easy come by. I thought, you know, if I want to earn it, I can earn it, and if I need to earn it, and you know, these houses are just going up and up and up and up and up and up. I didn't know that they cap out at some stage, because I just thought, hey, I've been taking our 10 grand. By the end of the year, it'll be back in equity, and it was a learning curve. You know, I wasn't a property investor by no means, but my dad got me into it to invest the money, and I'm glad we did. But you know, there was no strategy behind it. You know, now everything's strategic. Well thought, business planned, and goal set. So back then there was no strategy. It was just.
I mean, you probably weren't aware, I suppose, maybe at the time of the 92 recession.
No.
you know, the 1992. So then, like similar to myself, you know, I was sort of oblivious to it. You're just doing school, you're doing everything else. So as you say, when you get into property and it's rising at that speed and everything else, and you have the keys, and you're like, why is everyone not doing this?
Exactly. I couldn't get. Why is everyone not doing this? And yeah, like you say, it just seemed easy money, and there's no this. The good times will never end. This is phenomenal, brilliant. Holidays, cars, clothes, you know, stupid things. Were easy come by.
So were you back working at this time as well, or?
I'd actually left Transtech, and I got a job in Seagate as a production operator because I was a production operator in Transtech. Seagate was the big American, they're making hard drives for computers, and the Dell and IBM and everybody. They're still in business, they're still in Derry, but I worked in the Limavady plant. When I joined Seagate, there was about 400 people in it. It grew to about 1,800 people very quickly. The production just ramped up and ramped up. With that, that's when I kind of grew up. I was in Seagate, you know, starting to get a wee bit older. I met my now wife, settling down a wee bit more at the weekends, and things weren't as hectic and crazy. And I'd moved out, obviously, out of my folks' house. But I seen an opportunity in Seagate. I was only in there a few months, and I thought, this is it's not as smelly, it's cleaner than Transtech, but it's still mind numbing. Why did I not study? Why did I not go and get a degree? Should have got a degree. All my mates are in banking or living over in England and managing big Tesco's and wealth advisors and all this stuff. I'm in a factory after all. No disrespect to anybody that is in that environment. I enjoyed it, but how do I get out of this? And that's when I started plotting a course, standing in night shifts. It was mind numbing work. How do I get out of this? How can I grow? But you know, I used to look at the managers, and I still do this, and I think it's a good trait I've always had. I used to look at the people above me and go, what does he do differently? What's he do? Wonder what his background is. Watch him, how they operate, how they speak to people, how they communicate, how they roll, I guess. And you know, I'm going right. Whereas other people that I work with on the line used to go, can't stand him. He's a dickhead. I can't. You know. So I looked at them with fascination. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be with you, working beside you for the next rest of my life, because you're doing my, you know, this is where you're meant to be. I want to be where he is over there. And how do I get over there? And that's when I started really getting into starting to read a wee bit more and watching what, you know, bear in mind back then, when you're in a factory, successful people are the freaking managers. That's the sort of perception of success you have. It's not, you know, now it's very different. You know, I've worked with CEOs and entrepreneurs, investors and stuff. So back then, but in my first understanding of how all these principles and laws and success works, the successful people were, to me, were the managers in Seagate. How can I get to be one of those guys? A job came up. It was to be a technician support or something in the wastewater treatment plant that was being built at Seagate, part of the power, the plant, power of the factory, I guess. And I put in for the job, as did half of the factory. Everybody had seen it. It was a chemical handler role. There was a £1.20 an hour rise on what we were basically on, so a minimal rise, but it was a rise and a progression off the floor, which is more important to me, the next step on the ladder. There was 4 jobs, 1 per shift, obviously. So, and I got one for the shift I was on. So that was the first goal setting. Again, you can nearly say that, you know, I seen the job, I want that job. I'm getting that job. I ain't standing on this line. If I don't get it, I'm leaving. So apply for the job, chemical handler, got it. And I was in there about 6 months, and then it was a technician support, junior technician. Then there was an hour job came up. I think, to cut a long story short, and without going through every day or month or year of the Seagate career, I think in 8 years I was in Seagate. I started as an operator, and I got 5 promotions over 8 years, and left there as the lead technician on the shift. And that was just driven by how do I become better? How do I get what he's doing? Even when I was a technician, I had my eye on my boss's job, or the lead technician up, and then when I was the lead technician, it was to be the shift lead. How do I get to the shift lead? So always looking at what the guy above you was doing and trying to follow, replicate, and with the mindset of I'm coming after your job, right? I was young and boys. I still have that to this day, I guess, but that was the way I was programmed. And then when you reach the top, is as far as you can go without a degree in environmental engineering. And I think that was my boss at Seagate was a day worker. He was an environmental engineering manager. He had a first class honors degree in chemistry, and that's what you needed in his role. I didn't have that, and I wasn't going to. He was saying you should be. He always encouraged me to do courses. Tuition reimbursement. I'll sign off any course. You've got potential, and I didn't want engineering. I'd already tried construction. It was business I wanted to do. It was sales, supervisory, management. Unbeknown to him, I put in for a couple of courses. Here's the sort of crafty, devious side now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I applied for a few courses, took them up, he signed them off, but I kind of covered what the course was. I'm looking to do a course, what's it in? Environmental engineering or something. Yeah, it's wastewater treatment and all this sort of stuff. He'd sign it off, course, much as a course. I think the maximum was £1,000 a year you were allowed, and I was like, yeah, it's £1,200 and I'll pay the balance, right? Okay, and he'd sign it off. I done all my mortgage exams. I became a CMAP mortgage advisor working at Seagate. He didn't know. So, because I knew I need to get out of here now. I'm never going to be I'm never going to be an engineer. I don't have that mindset, but I would like to get into sales, or would like to get into mortgages. I was in property anyway, and I wanted to grow that. And some people were saying, if you had a CMAP, you can have a desk with me, a very well-respected mortgage advisor in the city. And yeah, I got mortgage qualified. I did a management course while I was in my night shift in Seagate. And I also got involved in or began the path to personal development on night shift. Bearing in mind, I ran a small team of 6 technicians. We were in a lab above the factory floor with walkie-talkies on night shift. Unless somebody radioed through to say there was a problem within the plant, we kind of had we were like firemen. One guy was sleeping, two guys were playing cards. One guy was navigating the internet because the internet just sort of blew up at them. It wasn't, we were constantly working. We kind of worked when we were needed. Some nights you may have never got a second. It was just chaos and we'd be all over the plant. Other nights, it was like the fire service. You could have got to sleep. So I used that time to study, get more qualifications. So when I did come out of Seagate, I was a fully qualified equity release mortgage advisor, and I had a fucking certificate in management. I think it was Institute of Management certificate.
You mentioned even there sort of earlier on when you were plotting the course, and you talked about reading at that point. What were you reading? Do you remember?
I joined some book club and got a whole lot. Back then, I was really interested in military books, believe it or not. Andy Ryan and stuff. I loved the sort of special forces type books as well. That mindset, what does it take to be that guy? How do they train? How do they operate? Boxing books. I used to bring in books on boxing, kickboxing and stuff, and read books. I also like reading books on fitness and nutrition. So, which guided me. Those books and autobiographies. Alex Ferguson. I remember reading that in night shift. And Duncan Bannatyne. There was all sorts of different autobiographies that interested me, business and sports autobiographies. But, mainly I used to read books, military books and in particular special forces books. It wasn't then there was an event happened further down. Once I left Seagate, I was in Seagate. Here's the deal. In fact, I was in Seagate. I'd worked a night shift. I was on about £1,800 a month then in my role, which was great money back then. However, there was still not enough There's still not enough money for the month. So what that meant is you were skint, a week before you payday. So a friend of mine told me that, I knew I wanted out. And he said, we're having a beer. And he said, listen, I think you'd be good at sales. I think you'd be great at selling insurance. I want you on my team. You don't have to leave a day job on your days off. I'll come out with me. I'll train you. I'll get you on the road. I'll get you a couple of deals. Back then it was just, you just go out and you sign the form and that you trained and watch what I do and then copy what I do as I say, get them to sign that form. So long story short, it was a Friday night. I was off. I was due back in to see you on the Monday night. Weekend off, Friday night, I'd arranged to go out with this guy, my first ever sales manager, first ever sales calls. We drove around a place called Isle of Doe in Donegal. We'd left Derry, drove an hour into West Ireland in winter. It was teeming with rain. It was a miserable night. and he was upbeat, positive, and just the energy and the crack and the banter was unreal. So I was enjoying that side of it. First house we came to, our strategy was simply knock on a door, not we're going to meet Pete London here and Pete, blah, blah, blah. It was, if you see a light, tell me and we'll drive. And Isla Doe was very barren, and they might see a light in the distance and we would just head off. Knock the door. Our target was builders, building contractors who had squads of men working in Dublin. We offered accident, sickness, unemployment cover for him and his teams. You'd see the light on, you would see the van, knock the door, he's not in. You could see him hiding, you know, the target. And this went on for a few hours, and I really just couldn't take any more. And then we got one woman brought us in, the husband came out, 20 minutes sparring over the kitchen table to try and get a sale, and he rejected. No, I objected. I've got it. I don't need you. Could you leave? We left. So I was like, Gary, do you want to call it a day? It's not happening. No. Power of persistence, I guess. The old wily sales manager knew better. No, we're not. We have an hour. It's 8 o'clock. Called into a house. Again, standing with our pitch books over our heads and underneath the back door because it was raining so hard. Guy brings us out. I had lost all motivation at this stage. This is get me out of here. I'll just do it. He brought me down. He's driving. I can't really get out of it. Long story short, we go in. He pitches the husband who wanted no, not interested. Gary kept at him. Then he goes, right, you know what? Let's do it. Sign me up. So just dealing with objections, looping back, going back to his fact find. Well, you told me this here and this was important. You still don't know about it. Great, Guy signed, right? Let's get on this plan. Gary, the sales manager, gave me the sheet and said, fill you it in, Christy, put it in your name. That way you'll get some commission. That's your first sale. I done nothing. I just sat there like a nodding dog. Filled it in, walking out. I'd never felt anything like it. I didn't even do anything. It was just the energy and shift and seeing a sale take place. Oh, that's amazing, brilliant. Oh, buzzing. He goes, you just made yourself 500 quid. You made yourself 30% of your salary. And it was only 2 or 3 hours we were out at this stage. So to me, it was like, wow, I just made 500 pounds. So then I was like, right, let's go to the bar. Let's get up the road. 8:45, brilliant. I'm super excited. It's Friday night, but the wily old sales manager knows better. He said, no. What you don't understand is the best time to get a sale is when you've just got a sale. We are two different animals. Energy's flowing. We're buzzing now. Let's go knock on our door. Guess what happened when we knocked on our door? We got on our sale. I just made £1,000 again, filled in the form. So I'm £1,000 up. So I'm driving up the road back to Gary, buzzing, couldn't wait to get home. The two of us buzzing, the energy and laughing. And the guy's still a personal friend and a crack way. I was 90. I love seeing him. And I said, Gary, so what did you think? And I said, Gary, my only issue is dealing with my objection. I don't know if I'm cut out. You know, I'm coming down off the high now. I don't know if I could have done what you did and handling those objections. I may have gave up. I might have, somebody said no, I'd walk away. And I don't know if I would have kept going as long as you would have. But, you know, I admire everything you do, but I don't know if it's for me. He reached in the glove box, picked out the book called Think and Grow Rich, threw it across at me and said, listen, I know exactly where you're coming from. Tell you what, take this book. You just made yourself £1,000. You'll be paid next Friday. Enjoy your weekend. You're heading into work Monday night. Take the book take a month, come back to him in a month. It might take you a month to read the book. The clue is in the book as well. It's going to pop out at you at some stage. Enjoy it. If you read the book and it's not for you, then you're £1,000 up, nothing gained, nothing lost. Is that a deal? Okay. So I went into work on the Monday night and opened the book, Think and Grow Rich. And when I came off the night shift, which was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday morning, I was smashing his door down like a man possessed with my goals, my definite major purpose, my affirmations, my new vision of a new life in sales and in business, and said, right, let's go. That's that book. And then you know this anyway, that book follows me. I read it 15, 20 times, once a year, pretty much. But that was the thing that changed it. That's when my reading, stuff the military books, stuff the geography, the autobiographies, it's just been consumed in sales books and books on personal development since then. And Think and Grow Rich, and two of the managers on that sales company who live by those principles. or live by that book. It worked for them, and they've been hugely successful. They could have been a lot more successful, but they're happy, they're successful, they're living their purpose, and they're really good at what they do. So that was the thing that changed it all then. No more. I went into Seagate and said, I, for the first time, could see the way out. I ain't going to be in this factory in 6 months' time. And I was smart enough to realize nothing, Roma isn't built in a day. I could see the way out, I could see the future. And, you know, there's an old saying, you know, the what always comes before the how, you know. So I was kind of like, right, I've got my goals, I've got my vision, I know what I want to do, I know what I was born to do. But let's just get back to the day job and back to the reality and just keep living these think and grow rich, and it'll come. And, you know, within 6 months I was out of there. I'd also set a goal. Let's say I was on 20 grand, 22 grand a year. I was actually targeted by my manager, you know, what do you want to earn? Back then, 40 grand was a lot of money to me. When you're on 20, 40 is a lot. When you're on 22, 40 double. And 40 seemed, yep, it was realistic, but it still seemed so far away. I don't know how to do that. How do I get from, I'm in a factory, how do I get to 40? The short story is I got there within 6 months, well, shortly after the 6 months. And the thing is, it just all happened. I didn't, you know, wasn't cognizant of all these different little things happening, because I just let the universe or nature or whatever you want to call it just take its course. I just cruised on, kept a positive attitude, stuck to the goals, worked hard, stuck with a day job. Even if you're not happy in it, stick with it, stay happy, turn up, show up, and go the extra mile. But it was when I was doing that that all these things are happening in the background. You know, the law of attraction, the people, places, opportunities. And then, you know, there was about 8 months, if I'm honest, I got offered a job. I moved into overseas property, and there's a story behind that as well, getting out of Seagate. But and you know, the guy, within meeting the guy, within a couple of weeks of meeting him and selling some property for him over in Bulgaria and Cyprus, doing it from my phone on my days off, he said, I can't afford to pay you commissions the rate that you're selling property. I'm going to have to put you on a salary, and I'm going to have to open an office in Derry. He was in Manchester. I'm going to have to give you a different commission rate, and I'm going to give you shares in the company and all that, because I can't afford to. You're fucking killing it. And he said, so the salary I want to offer you, I'm just going to come out. Would you take £40,000 as a base salary, and I'll give you £500 a month for your car, and then here's the commission, and here's the you know, it's going through my head. You know, so that was the goal. When you set that goal, you have no idea how you're going to get 40 grand. No idea. But it's living and working the principles of the Think and Grow Rich philosophy, sticking with a day job, and, you know, it happens. And then when you get to 40, you go, wonder could I get this to 80? Then it transpires. You know, 80 is a base. You know, when we were on for it, I think it was, you know, we were earning more with commissions and things like that as well. But, you know, it just shows you, that's when I started getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the study of the mind, I guess. And I don't say that they sound too sort of metaphysical or deep on it. You know, I was just infatuated by it. You know, this, if more people, here's my take on it, if more people knew this, how to visualize and set goals and be positive and driven and focused and persistent, more people knew this, that Seagate factory would be freaking empty. Nobody would be working in there. They'd be working doing what they love to do. They'd be some people as well, what I love, really important, it's not all about the money, it's doing what you love to do. So that's what I like to do. That's my job. When I was in Seagate, when I read Think and Grow Rich, the goal was 40 grand was a financial target. But that, because they'd ask you to set a target. My boss said, can you set, what would you like to earn? And 40 to me was, wow. But it was, what would you like to, I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to sell. I had just happened to be selling property and mortgages. And I was in Cyprus, Spain, Portugal, Bulgaria, all over the world. So like I said at the start, my vocation was a freaking vacation, and everything was expense. So not only was I making the money I wanted, but I was actually living on purpose.
That's a very strong statement there, Leah, living on purpose.
Yeah, it is. Well, it is exactly what you're doing. You're in the job you want to do. You're helping people achieve their dreams, goals, or aspirations, and you're freaking happy and getting significantly well paid for it as well. So that's living on purpose. You know, that's fire in the belly. That's jumping out of bed in the morning going, I can't wait for today. Can't wait
Mm.
for today. Can't wait to either help somebody, solve somebody's problem, and yeah, do it with a smile. That's back to the fire in the belly.
So that first sale, I mean, that sort of that call out with the insurance. I mean,
Yeah.
you must have been what, 25, 26, something like that.
Yeah, around then. Yeah, I was a few years in Seagate anyway, you know, and working through the different promotions and different goals. So I had probably a goal set and background, unconscious to me, you know, the unconscious competent, conscious competent stuff. It was sort of, I want to be up there, but I didn't know nothing about setting goals and visualizing. Visualizing definitely knew nothing about writing a goal, sharing a goal. So yeah, I would have been in the, you know, but I'd always strove to get more promotions. I need to get up there. I want his job. And then, so yeah, mid 20s, mid to late 20s, you know, I think I was 7 years in Seagate maybe. So it could have been about it was definitely, it took about an 8-month chart, you know, course to get out. Once I'd really set and think and go rich, had a nerve that Monday night and night shift. They actually, you know, dreams don't happen, your goals don't happen overnight. So you can't expect them to. So, you know, be patient. Like I say, the what always comes before the how, but, you know, as long as you know what that what, and then the how will manifest over. So it took 8 months for that to happen.
Wow. So you were insurance, you were into the property at this point as well. You were really sort of firing on all cylinders. It just sounds like you found your purpose.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the common denominator was just selling, meeting people. You know, I got good at selling insurance. I went out on my days off and cruised around. The problem with insurance, and if anybody's, you may know from, is clawbacks. It's all good getting the sale, and then next thing somebody cancels, or an hour savvy insurance guy goes around and speaks to your prospect or your customer, and he's got a new plan or a new policy. The other thing with insurance companies, they don't like to pay out, as we know. So my customers, and this was a pain for me, people who give me the time and welcome me into the house, people who needed this cover, who were self-employed, that needed a income while they were injured. Genuine, nice people that I put my face in front of. When injury or adversity came, when the insurance company, being insurance companies, we're not paying out because of this, or we need to review the case because of this, or we need him to go and see this specialist in Dublin when this guy's lying in Donegal with a broken back. Dublin isn't really an option until we pay out. And, you know, and these guys may have had 2 or 3 months income to keep them, and then they're in the shit, and that's for want of a better word. So once a couple of things like that started happening, I'm like, you know what, I need to get out of this insurance. The company, people did get paid, but they were making it hard. I was getting from happy phone calls and people shaking my hand saying, thanks for getting this sorted. The people shouting down the phone, and, you know, you're not welcome in this part of Donegal again if you're ever seen down here. And it wasn't me, I sold it. But so that was a sort of, you know, insurance. Then the love affair with insurance and that type of sale moved out. I flew to Bulgaria. Me and my good friend James, I was fully mortgage qualified. I had a Jack Kay, who is used to play for Derry City, very well known in the city, was a very well known mortgage advisor, and he wanted me to come on board. So I knew where I was going. I was going to do mortgages with Jack. And as I flew, me and a friend decided we'd buy in Bulgaria back at the start of all this. So we flew to Bulgaria on a plane with a company. We met in London Gatwick at a meeting point, flew out to Bulgaria. On the plane was like not something I've never seen before. Air Bulgaria or Bulgaria Air. The plane still had ashtrays and shit, you know, it was really old. But it was just a selling fest. Everybody was on that plane. It was February, and we were going to the sun resorts, which are dead, really covered in ice. So the only reason people were flying to Burgos was to buy property or to be sold property on inspection trips. And it was just, I'd never seen anything like it. The entire plane, it was just people doing deals, handing out cards, brochures, plans. And I couldn't believe it. One of my best mates that I grew up with was on the plane. Who'd moved to Manchester with university, done his engineering degree, done very well in software. And now then all of a sudden, he's now my business partner at the B&B. He's now my business partner with our CLC. We've worked in Monsiers but long story short, he was like, what the hell are you doing on the plane? What are you doing on the plane? He was setting up a international property development company. He was there with his boss, the CEO, the guy with the money. And he said, whatever you do, do not buy off any of these guys on this plane. I want you to see our products. I want you to see what we're doing. We're doing this stuff out here on the coast is crap. it's the ski resorts where it's at. We've got a quality product, guaranteed rental income. Don't buy. And then we ended up meeting them in the last night in Bulgaria. We phoned them, where are you guys? That came and met us in the hotel, and we shook on a deal. And then that's where I started going back home and started selling international property from my phone, from my kitchen. Me and my partner, my friend, good friend, still to this day, big James McConnell. And we'd sold about £1 million worth of, maybe nearly £2 million worth of property in about a 2-3 month period from our kitchens. Just phoning people and saying, hey, you need to come down and see. We've got just to come back from Bulgaria. We've got phenomenal investment opportunity. It's guaranteed rental income. Listen, about tomorrow night. Literally cold calling and going down with a brochure and signing people up. And that's when the guy said, I can't afford to pay you guys anymore. You're going to have to come on the books. And yeah, that was the start of the journey into overseas. We had an office in Derry. We flew in, we had a big show in Derry. We flew in the Bulgarian property developer and a Learjet, the Eglinton Airport. Derry had never seen anything like this before. It was just the good times rolling. I was given an Audi A4 convertible as my company car, all from just setting goals and reading Think and Go Rich and believing it and just letting nature take its course.
This must have been what, 2003, 2004?
Yeah, around that. Yeah, 2004, 5. We had about because I had a couple of really good years selling Bulgarian, Cypriot, Spanish, and Portuguese property. Then they overinvested and stuff, and long story short, they shut down on the night of our Christmas Day. I was given a phone call as I was locking the unit in Derry, in Shipkey Street, Derry, in the city centre, to go for a few pints before the Christmas night out. I got the call from the boss and said, whatever you do, have a great night, have a great Christmas, use the company card, max the crap out of it, because I'm winding things up. You won't be opening in the new year, but enjoy tonight. And so that was a bit of a 21st of December, Friday the 21st of December. Couldn't tell the rest of the team on a Christmas night out. That would have sort of set the tone. But yeah, that was 21st of December. By 2nd of January, I was on a plane to Italy to work. I got headhunted the next day, a Saturday morning. As I have no idea how this happened, but I got a phone call from a guy called Harry Fitzsimmons, who owned VFI overseas property. They made the news, and there was a big. Mr. Fitzsimmons was my first real mentor. He was also just a phenomenal operator. He phoned me and said, "Listen, I knew the company I was working for was in trouble, but I'd put my CV out there. I was a qualified mortgage advisor, and I was running an overseas property company. So you have a mixture. You can come with investment pitch, but you're also in sales." And he said, "I've seen your CV. I want to talk to you. I am the biggest developer. I've got hectares of land, multiple projects. I've sold this, and this, and we've got a partnership. I want you to join my team down there." And the rest is history. On January the 2nd, I met Harry at Luton Airport, I think it was, or Stansted, and flew to Italy and spent a year living it up, selling. When one door closed, another just came bursting open. Apartment, salary, and he said, "Listen, I don't want you selling property. I want you as a mortgage advisor. We set up a mortgage company. So let's say Pete Lanton and his wife's coming down. Seamus is going to take him around and show him all the properties that we have off plan. He's going to pitch the crap out of him, get them sold. If he can't get them sold on the emotion, on the project, on the physical aspects, and then we're going to bring them into you, and you're going to do two jobs. You're going to sell them on the investment, the return, and you're going to get them signed up to a mortgage through Barclays and overseas mortgage, which the company got a big kickback. So, it was beautiful. There was 50 or 60 deals coming into me every month. Prospects that were buying. Not everybody went with a mortgage, but it just shows you the scale that Harry was at. They were doing 50 properties a month at the peak. Phenomenal amount of money, multi-millionaire. But just that was a crash course. The other thing, that's where I learned the difference type of sales as well. I went down to Italy when I arrived in Italy. Bearing in mind, it just one company just wrapped it up. I'd waved goodbye to about 30 or 40 grand in commission that I never seen. The company, just the way it was, and that left a bitter pill. I arrived down in Italy, and the car park of the offices were full of Maseratis, pumped out Range Rovers, all with Spanish plates. All the guys had left Marbella, which was the property hotspot, McAntony Realty, and moved to Italy because it was the new hotspot. Harry had recruited the best of all these overseas, took all the guys that had been selling timeshare in Spain. These guys were, and then you walked into the sales office in Italy, it was just entering boiler room. It was just a hive of energy, activity. Everybody stood. No, it was Wolf of Wall Street stuff. Guys were making 30 and 40 grand a month selling property. They were wearing the best suits, sharp as a tack, good looking guys, some guys, you're like, whoa, I'm in a different world here. You're coming from our wee office in Derry, the sales office, two guys just banging phones and enjoying each other's banter. Now I'm in an international sales office where you're the best of the best. These guys you could tell by the talk, the pitch, the way they spoke, the way their rapport, their tonality, and their closing skills. They were just part sharp, part genius, and you weren't allowed to sit down unless you got a sale. You only got your bum on a seat. You stood until you got a sale. Some people stood all day because their energy and their ability to sell and articulate was much better standing. But hey, that was crazy times. A lot of money being made by guys, and I was doing quite well as well. Not as much as the sales guys, but the out and out property sales guys. But we great times eating out every night in bars and restaurants, and going into work. Still sharp as a tack. The energy was so much, even if you'd sat drinking till 6 a.m., you were in the office at 9 o'clock, sharp as a tack. The energy in the place just brought you around. It was just, crazy. It was boiler room. And it was, but again, that came crashing down as well. But yeah, I'd spent a year there. I came home to get married and never went back. It's probably the best way of putting it. That's, I pretty much wasn't allowed to go back. So yeah, but I still stay in touch with Harry. He's in Belfast now. It ended a wee bit sour. There was all sorts. We could nearly write a book on some of the mafia was involved, international money laundering, all sorts of things pointed at Harry and his business, which he was cleared of, I may add. But the mafia that existed in Italy was interesting. They used to come into the office, sharpest guys, really nice looking, and shook your hand. We were in Calabria, southern Italy, so we were looking across at Sicily. But the Calabrian mafia were the biggest mafia, the most active mafia in Italy, and are still are, the 'Ndrangheta. International reach from drugs, extortion, everything, human trafficking. So they had overtaken the Sicilians, and with them also came a breed of violence that the Sicilians had kind of moved away from. The Sicilians were more business-like, political. These guys were farmers. It was the poorest. If you split a Calabria off from Italy, it's the poorest country in Europe, poorer than Albania. So that's fact. So the Calabrians came with, they were poor, hill farmers, sheep farmers. Life is cheap. All of a sudden, they formed this big gang and exploded. That's why southern Italy is so underdeveloped. You couldn't, the amount of money that's been extorted from developers and builders and companies, they can't build it. They just couldn't. They built a motorway and it took 30 years to build because every 5 or 6 miles there was a different mafia family taking mad money. But yeah, they used to come in with, they knew we were doing so well and selling so much, so they just come in, very business-like, plot of land, 6 villas, we need you to sell it. So Harry and Antonio just did what the businessman did, and yep, okay, we'll build a brochure and we'll sell it, and they got paid their commission. So they did exist, you did see them. They give Harry a Porsche Cayenne as a gift one time, right? And I was Harry's go-to guy for all things finance, I think. Harry phoned me one day and said, Christy, and it did come from the Calabrian mafia, that is fact. Harry phoned me and said, I'm in the Hilton Hotel, Palermo, in Sicily. I'm meeting some finance guys, and we're talking about they're going to fund some big projects. I've got a 600 villa or apartment complex with a golf course and big plans. He's always had big plans. I need you to come down and meet these people. You and Liam, my business partner now. Liam, get him to do a couple of reports up, and you come down and give it the pitch. And I want the 2 Irish guys down. Don't tell any of the English guys in the office. I want my own down here. See you soon. So we drive to Palermo, which is like a 6-hour drive, but with no car. So I said, what will I drive? I said, take the Porsche Cayenne Turbo, right? Okay. So I took the Porsche Cayenne, just went and lifted the keys out of behind the manager's desk. Where are they? They're in. Richard wasn't there. I said, right, okay, I took the keys. I was halfway to the border, halfway to the ferry at Messina. They head over to Sicily. When I got a call from the manager in the office, furiously saying, who told you to take the keys of Porsche? What the hell's going on here? And I said, Harry told me I'm going to a meeting in Palermo, right? And he says, what? Are you insane? He said, that van that you're at, Porsche, the number plates on that Porsche are linked to a mafia boss who's based in Calabria, who are at war with the Sicilian mafia. And we've got two Irish guys in their Jeep heading now into the enemy, heart of the enemy's territory, in their, in a ex-mafia boss's Jeep. Are you crazy? And we were like, you know what? Fuck it. This will be fun. They're not going to shoot two Irish guys. So we drove the whole way to Palermo in a present from a Calabrian rival mob boss's Porsche Cayenne to meet Harry and live to tell the tale.
Holy smokes. That's interesting times then.
Yeah. Oh, there was some cracking, funny experiences that we got over the years.
You must have been, well, it was coming into 2007 time then, was it?
Yeah, it would have been because the lights went out in 2008.
Mm.
The lights literally, 30, 40, 50, 60 mortgages a month. And that was millions for 30, 40, 50. It grew up the first month, maybe 2 or 3 deals a week. And then it kind of, more and more people in the market, and they ramped up the market. And all of a sudden people were coming down from Scandinavia, Russia, massive amount of Russians. England, Ireland, they had an office in Dublin, an office in London and stuff, and they had agents. So all of a sudden you had 50 deals, 50 mortgages to do a month, 50 people buying property. And when, I think it was when it might have been September 2008, was, the credit crunch happened slightly before, but people still bought. And I think the kicker was the Lehman Brothers crash, September 2008. It was just lights out. We were shut, that office was shut a month later. So yeah, so 2008 to answer your question. Yeah.
So you were saying, so it was around that time then you got married and moved home?
Yes, 2008. Yeah,
wow.
Married. I got married and came back from my honeymoon with no job, so that was a bit weird. I was in Dubai, and then duty fly to the Maldives when I got word that the office in Italy was closing, and it's don't worry, you're not coming. Well, my wife had already told me, Italy, forget about Italy. So I knew I was going to be looking for an hour job. I had put some feelers out, but the plan was to go back to Italy until I got something. I knew that in my head. The wife just didn't know it. But yeah, the guys that I worked closely with phoned me and said, hey, it's over. We're just wrapping up. What do you want us to do? Anything with your stuff? Was pretty much what they said. Your laptop's down here and there's stuff, your BlackBerry. You remember BlackBerries? I had a little BlackBerry for work. We can post it to you. You've got some shirts and suits in the office. And it was just like, yeah, dump it. It's no use to me. It's over, and it was a wee bit depressed after a while after that. You just come back from the height of the week before you get married, the height of your marriage day. I'm in Dubai. I remember my first night in Dubai. I'd spent £300 on a bottle of wine. I'm on my honeymoon. I also got the currency conversion wrong, so it wasn't an intentional thing. But it was just good times, and it just felt great. I think it was the night before we left Dubai to go to the Maldives that news came through. And it kind of was the end of an era. The property market's dead. The mortgage market's dead. That's what I've been doing. Right, I'll enjoy my honeymoon, but in the back of your head when you're lying, trying to sum me, you're going, what the hell am I going to do? I'm starting again. And it's funny, there's millions of people are probably going through that as we speak now with the COVID stuff. So, I have lived through, which was a major life-changing, game-changing, economy, world-changing event, the credit crunch. But through teachings of being self-taught in personal development, goals, and absorbing, not just Think and Grow Rich, and from the Brian Tracy's, the John Asraf's, the Jack Canfield's, the Lisa Nichols, etc., and The Secret, the movie, was a big player. Okay, let's dust ourselves down here. Let's not cry. That's not whinging. That's not. Where there's adversity, there's opportunity. And I took a few months off, had some money and savings, and then all of a sudden, it was nearly a year later, to be honest. I pittered about and finished off some mortgage stuff, but it was half-hearted working, and it was still looking out. And then June, I think it was, from back after my honeymoon, mid-October. It was around June 2009 that the opportunity then, with a positive mindset, I guess, presented itself, and that was with the software company, Concierge.
Wow. Had you accumulated much of your own property at that point, or?
I pulled out of one in Italy because there no longer, I had one on a cracker in Italy, and I had to pull out because I had 2 in Bulgaria, in the ski resort in Bansko, and 4 in Derry, with one my home. Pulled out of the one in Italy because I was the guy doing the mortgages, and then because of the credit crunch, the loan to value ratio had dropped down, and then the deposit and just the mortgage, just where you could have got an 80% mortgage, you know, looking at 60% down, not 20% down. And also they were pulling the product for non-residents. It was like, oh, this is too risky. So the Italy one lost a few pounds in deposit. So, but I could have accumulated a lot more, if I had been more strategic in my sort of property investment. But yeah, I didn't. Was the honest answer.
So you're back home then, so the software company, talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, I got Liam got a call out of the blue from a guy that he used to work for in America, who had a software company when Liam was his top sales guy. They sold the company to a big giant, and it was a startup, and Marcus, the CEO, made a lot of money, wound up the company. He'd been watching Liam for a while, knew Liam was an overseas property, probably put 2 and 2 together and said, he's probably not doing anything anymore. He can't be. Freaking market's dead. Global credit. So he had come up with this concept of like a virtual concierge, a touchscreen for the hotel lobby. It was the start of the iPad generation anyway. And he said, don't like waiting in queues in big hotel lobbies. I'd rather go up and interact with I don't like tipping concierges. You ask them, where's the best restaurant around here? And they give you a half-baked, McDonald's could be the point. You just, somewhere it's, they're giving backhanders anyway. So the best restaurant, the concierge mightn't be the best restaurants where he's getting paid. Plus I had to give him $10, $15 for that privilege as a tip. So he came up with this idea, what if we could use digital technology that's available today? A giant iPad, 42-inch touchscreen in the lobby, which is powered by a content management system, and hotels can update all their promotions, their offers. Local restaurants could advertise on it and give them directions. And so that a software product was born, but he needed a sales team. So he phoned Liam and said, you're obviously not doing anything. I'm putting the pieces together now, and by September, I would like, putting the team together. I want you to be available to come to Oklahoma City, and we're going to kick off this startup. We've got some, got funding, a lot of money to set it up, and I want you to run Europe. I want you to build a team, and talk us through, how you see. I want to show you the product. It's in beta at the minute, but in September we'll have a full product to show you and get your feedback. And long story short, Liam said, right, well, if you want a sales team, then I know somebody that you're going to have to. You want me to build a sales team? Then I'm bringing somebody with me, because I know who my go-to man is for sales. That happened to be me, as luck would have it. So September, October 2009, we flew to Oklahoma City, and we came up with the company didn't have a name. The company didn't have a customer. The company had a small team of about 8 very intelligent, from software people to a marketing guy to a creative guy and a couple of Irish sales guys. And it was born. I moved through, we were self-employed originally. We came up with a business model, how much money we'd need, on the back of a napkin in IHOP. And Marcus said, how much do you think you need to get this going? I think we said 50 to 100 grand, and we should be good. We'll be generating revenue. I think he cracked a joke when he was about 6 million in the hole. Christy, you told me 50 grand would do it. We're now 6 million. We still haven't cracked the global code. Fortunately, we moved through. We helped set the company up with some phenomenal people. We developed a product, and we used to call in it hotels, just, in Dublin and Ireland was our first customer. Mom and pop hotels. Through sales, craft, balls, and just vision, we started sparring with the Hilton corporates and started just aiming bigger, for want of a better word, thinking bigger, aiming bigger, lofty goals. How can we take the company from a mom and pop hotel technology company to a global supply, vendor of choice, partner, not even a vendor, a partner of global hotel chains. How can we go on? We spent hours, days, weeks, months recrafting value propositions, role plays, training, back and forth. And just being, you know, I was always known as hungry as hell, you know, knocking doors, making phone calls. Somebody said, and I learned that from my sales manager, I guess, in my first sales encounter. But we just never gave up, kept going, and we got from back of a napkin to millions and millions of dollars of revenue per year. Contracts with Jumeirah in Dubai, the Burj, the contracts with Travelodge, IHG, which own all the Holiday Inns, Wyndham Hotels, sold that one personally. 7,000 hotels, and an API integration, and their app that somebody else built. We traveled the world, you know, sales teams in multiple countries. Apple became our biggest partner. We push Apple TV and Apple devices to improve communications across staff in hotels, housekeeping teams, maintenance teams. Optimized and improved efficiencies across the core hotel brands, the Ibis brands, the Novotel brands. We got our first corporate deal with Novotel, 400 hotels. I can assure you we went a right rip after that, me and Liam. Again, just by, you know, sales, you know, no real strategy with the core, just constantly staying in front and center of somebody's mind, the vice president of guest technology. He was never interested in our product, but it just shows you one thing you have to be in sales, is persistent and persistent. Somebody might not be interested today. Our first contact with a guy we actually signed a global contract for 400 hotels across 60 countries. You know, could have been a year. All of a sudden, his priorities shifted. All of a sudden, his guest needs across the, you know, he worked in the corporate office, but had they franchised out 400 odd hotels, Novotel being the brand. Once they defined their new strategy, our technology, because we were constantly sending them stuff, white papers, you know, send them hello emails, craft and stuff, you know, just like, you know, we're still here, we've done this, we've improved that, read this case study. When he needed that product, or when that product became of importance, guess who gets the phone call? And that's how it happened. And took that product, you know, from startup to a phenomenal concept, rolled it out across 60 countries. They're still going very strong. I still consult and help. Hoping to get back over and do some training. The CEO wants me to come now. The new teams, the new company. I left after 10.5 years. I left in September by mutual consent. I was vice president of global sales. I started as a sales man, sales executive. And again, having that mindset from which I picked up in Seagate as an operator. How did I get to here? How did I get there? I was turned down in 2 or 3 different promotion attempts. Somebody else got the job. You know, it's how you respond to those sort of events that'll determine your outcomes in the future. I got a job. I was turned down when I felt I should have got the job. Instead, I beat myself up and, you know, been bitchy about it. You know, I worked with a new sales director, helped him, asked him for ideas and tips and wanted to learn off him. All of a sudden, a year later, guess who overtakes him? When the vice president job came, he thought that he was getting it because he was already the sales director. Very shortly, he was reporting to me as global vice president of sales, and he was the sales director for the UK. So the point of that, I guess, is, you know, no matter where you start on a company, or no matter what, you know, it's down to you where it goes, where it takes you. It's down to you to set your goals, have your vision. Down to you to work hard, practice persistence, take action, go the extra mile. We treated that job, that's Monsieur's, as if it was our company, even though we were just employees. We were frugal with expenses in the UK. We didn't report into every day to the CEO when we were building it here, but we managed expenses tightly. We doubled up in hotel rooms just to save money. We treated it like our own business, and it was appreciated and reciprocated when you know, the CEO was looking at growing the team and growing the people. So, and it then gives you a crash course. We weren't running our own business, but we were treated as if our own business. But now we're running our own business because it's like we've had 10 years experience running a business, which just happened to be a multinational global hospitality software company that's doing very well.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Well, that's it's a phenomenal journey, and you've obviously, I mean, all that's really come, I suppose, from Think and Grow Rich. And what other training was really stood out for you and all that?
What was that? Sorry, what was the?
What other training and development stood out, to give you all that knowledge and experience?
I mean, when I read Think and Grow Rich, I went on to looked at all. The Think and Grow Rich was the first thing that stood out was what's inside here. And the power they create and develop and build, and the powers within that. I always looked at the outside events and tried to they guided where I was looking to go, and I was always influenced by what was happening on the outside. Once you realize it's what's happening on the inside, and the power to create your own reality, your own mental movie, your own movie of your life. The other book that was really that I read then about 10 years ago, after Think and Grow Rich, 15 years, whatever it was the Psycho-Cybernetics by Matthew Maltz. Because I did have I had a bad experience doing a public speaking event many years ago, and it affected the self-image to the point where being a mortgage advisor was easier than a salesperson, because in my head, I'm only dealing with you. I can do this face-to-face sales interaction. I can't speak on a big stage because I had a complete meltdown, fluffed my lines, got agitated, anxious. And then what happens then, the mind tells you you just can't speak on stage, or you can't speak to, there's 500 people in a room. And I wasn't expecting that. It was a role play as part of a course I was doing. And we had the final day, you had to do these role play live on stage business. It was a sales interaction. It was part of a business course. So we've been prepped for it, and we've been working up this for 2 days as part of the boot camp. And we were told we would be doing it in the hotel to the group. But unbeknown to us, that morning then, they were bringing people from all the other colleges and business schools in Northern Ireland down. So I just knew the hotel seemed a lot busier. I thought, there's a lot of people here today. And then it happened to be in the room. They brought these students down to watch these business and management students do role plays. So I balls mine up completely. And it was a bad experience. And to me, it was like, I'm just not good at speaking publicly. And there was a mental block. It was no matter what Think and Grow Rich does, it helped obviously set goals, and then I became very clear on where I wanted to go. I knew then everything's driven by my mind, my thoughts, my images, my behaviors. However, it was Maxwell Maltz's power of psycho-cybernetics that changed the self-image psychology, and then that became a driver. So yep, Think and Grow Rich over here, but wow, if I read and practice what Maltz is telling me, I can change my self-image. I know. So that gave me a different dimension. Also, the teachings from that book have been critical. They're the cornerstone, because if you don't have a good self-image of yourself, if you don't see yourself as a high-performing podcaster, sales rep, coach, boxer, whatever it might be, then nothing else is going to happen, because you can't outperform or outfool the self-image. You might come across or act as if, but deep down, if you haven't got that self-image cracked, then it's all going to fall down. The house of cards is all going to fall apart. And I was very aware of that. I suppose by using the tips, strategies in the Maxwell Maltz books, Cybernetics, I was able to change my self-image through obviously the mental movies, the affirmations, the visualizations, etc. Being consistent with that training. So I ended up speaking in front of a couple of thousand people at Apple's biggest sales event in the world. So going from having a meltdown to flying to Cupertino to give a presentation on how to sell Montier software powered on an Apple TV to 2,000 of their top salespeople from around the world. So that book had a massive, profound impact on training and reprogramming the self-image, which is, success or whatever mindset, it's like a combination of a lot. Think and Grow Rich ain't going to do it itself. There's some other concepts, NLP, there's meditation, being able to rest the brain down. There's the Think and Grow Rich philosophy. There's the self-image philosophy. There's the success principles from Jack Canfield as well, adding all those different. So you've kind of, Think and Grow Rich is just one concept or one sort of, there's obviously 13 principles in it, but you've got to use that alongside some of the other teachings and the meditations, and then there's new combinations coming out, or new codes to the lock, and NLP and other things like that, hypnosis, are all adding to it. So you've kind of got to get all these things lined up, ducks in a row, for the lock to open. And when I say the lock to be open, I mean the success that you're looking for, the career, the finance, the relationships. On Jack Canfield, I really resonated with his teachings more than the Bob Proctors. Napoleon Hill, as we know, is no longer with us. So it's not like you can sign up to Napoleon Hill podcasts or Napoleon Hill's online course and engage with him, unfortunately. Aaron Nightingale and all those guys. So they've said the next generations, your Bob Proctors and your Jack Canfields. I went down the Jack Canfield route, read the Success Principles, and it just made much more sense for me. It was also a concept that I thought I could teach the people better than some of the Bob Proctor stuff, which is quite deep if you're not, bear in mind, when I was looking to teach these principles, it was to salespeople. And you know what, some salespeople sometimes are very, what's this mindset shit? I don't need that crap. Are you off your head? There is that attitude. It's changing. So I studied I became a certified Success Principles coach through the Jack Canfield program, spent a few £1,000, got me accreditation, and I'm kind of using, so that was an art training that really helped me. The reason I went down the Jack Canfield route as well is I wanted to teach this to other people. Some of the other programs were more individually focused. This is going to help you. But the Jack Canfield is going to help me, but then I can teach it. It is a certified trainer program. So the others were more, this is all about you. And then once you get set in yourself, and then there's other programs that you can do, and then you can teach this sort of stuff. But to me, I was already fixed. I wasn't broken. I kind of had a good understanding of how the mind worked. My passion was, how can I coach this to other people? So yeah, I went down the Jack Canfield. It took me about a year to go through the online training and a couple of webinars, and I was supposed to go to an event. I couldn't make it through travel. I was in Dubai with work, and it was in Washington. So anyway, long story short, a year, Jack Canfield, certified Success Principles trainer, and now that's driving what I'm looking to do going forward, and teaching sales teams these principles, teaching small business owners, teaching boxers these principles as well.
Talk to us about boxing. When did that come into play for you, and sort of where have you gone with it?
I did it for a bit when I was very young. And my uncle was a boxer, or cousin, and he was an Irish champion, and he then told my father to bring the boys out, and got into it for a while. But golf was my passion when I was younger. I lived in a golf course. I was pretty good at it too. Very low handicap. 5 and 6 at one stage, and then so golf was the thing. It was on the doorstep. Boxing, and my father had to finish work and come and take it, so it wasn't always accessible or consistent because of his work. Being self-employed, he wasn't always able to do it. So the boxing fitted out as I was younger, and then I got back and did mid-20s. It was actually kickboxing. I got into through a friend. Went out to Paddy Tone's training. I loved the kickboxing. Loved the smells and noises. There was a room full of 25 guys in a little shack that were just beating alongside each other, and I just loved that. I'd fallen out of love with the weights. The gym. I've been in the gym since I was 15, lifting weights. I've fallen out of love, so I got into kickboxing through a friend who was a very, very good kickboxer. And took a couple of fights, a number of fights in kickboxing, and then I was asked by a guy who said, "Could you Oakleaf Boxing Club in Derry?" I said, "Listen, we're running an event. Would you take a fight?" And I thought, yeah, I'll take a fight. It was 25, 26. He said, "Could you come down for a sparring session?" And I thought, yeah, I'll come down, and I'm training out in the kickboxing club. I know everything I need to know about boxing, know everything I need to know about fighting. I've been in loads of them. I just love it. I love the fighting. I love the sparring. I love the. So yeah, they said, no, you really need to come down to the boxing club and get a spar with a boxer. Came down. He told this little guy. I was in my 20s, quite muscular, quite well built, very lean, and I'd been sparring every night in the kickboxing club. And he told this little guy who was about 16, a lot lighter, glove up, get your shit on, get your head guard, Mike. Christy, you're going to go on with Alan or whatever his name was. And I'm like, are you serious? Too much for that. Are you? And Budge is his nickname and personal friend since playing football, so I knew him. I was like, Budge, are you serious? This guy's, what age is he? And he's like, oh, you'll be all right. Just, I'll be all right. He said, he'll be all right. They'll just take you around. And I'm like, he's now been condescending. Do you mean he's going to kick me around? I'm going to kick him out. So long story short, we get under the ring. I thought I'll just take it nice and light. I'll jab around and move and use my experience and all that sort of stuff. Threw a jab, mustn't got hit by 2. Threw a 1-2, mustn't got hit by 4. about a minute and a half and I'm like, oh my God, I am out of this is different gravy. In kickboxing, people just came forward and it was just a slugfest and kicks and punches and elbows and stuff. In boxing, it was feints and moves and slips and ducks and all that sort of. So after getting punched around the ring without laying a single glove, I came out and I looked at Eugene, the coach, Budge, and said, I need to learn that. I need to learn that. What age is he? And in kickboxing, if you had 10 or 15 fights, you were very experienced. Guys in our gym had 15 fights and were European champions. Aaron McCarn, phenomenal, but 15 fights is what I had. He was a European champion. So I looked at the little boxer guy and was like, hey, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Have you had any fights? He goes, oh, yeah. How many fights have you had? He goes, 50. So boxing's different. They have them fighting all the time. They have them competing. It's a national sport now. It's our most successful Olympic sport. So there's little events every week happening. So the experience they get, and I never went back to the kickboxing club. I studied, loved and breathed boxing, took a load of fights in boxing, got involved and, became a fundamental member of the club. But I will say this, it's, I then, because I was one of the older guys in the club and there's a lot of younger, I was also helping out taking young guys on pads and doing the drills and calling and taking the class essentially when all the coaches weren't there. And then I went through all the different coaching badges that they put you through, so it's full of credit. But what I did realize was I was a way better coach than I was boxer, even though I'd never lost any of the fights. But I just knew I prefer the coaching and I was moving out. I was just thought I'm a better coach. I prefer working with the people. I like talking them through the drills. I'm quite technical. I like breaking it down. I like building people's confidence, even if they're not great. I like just building their confidence while I have them on the pads. And I can see young kids used to come in and queue up behind me and say, Winnie, can you take me on the pad? So I knew I was pretty decent at it and I had a flair for the coaching. When you say fire in your belly as well, one thing that stands out about boxing, we were quite successful. I had 9 Irish champions. We had 4 Irish champions in one day. No club in Ireland. So we're down in the Dublin. We're driving up the road with 4 Irish champions, buzzing. We have Brett now, who's living with Ricky Hatton in Manchester. He's going to be huge. He's going to be a world champion. We worked with him as a club. I coached him a lot, but Eugene coached him, so it's a club effort. Brett's probably going to have his first pro fight when this is over. The COVID, Ricky Hatton's on Sky Sports talking about him last week. We coached him since he's 11 years of age. Multiple 9 times Irish champion, junior Commonwealth silver medalist. Sean McGlinchey, who I coached and who's going to be, I'm working very closely with Sean now on success principles. Going to the Commonwealth Games with Sean, working, running on the roads at 6 in the morning, doing pad work at 10 o'clock at night, getting them from 102 kilos to 81 kilos in a very records, 3 months through the help of nutritionists, but staying on his ass, training, working with him, being the coach. There's the mental aspect. When you're losing that much weight, the mind starts wandering, helping them visualize, focus, plan goals, affirmations, using the trainings that I knew. That's the stuff made me, at 4 a.m. when my alarm clock went off in a winter's morning, I bounced out of bed because I'm going running with the boxers. That's how you know you're fire in your belly and you're passionate about something. I remember being really, really stressed with work one day at home, working from home sales. Things weren't going my way. 5 o'clock in the evening, and I thought, I'm going to get a bottle of wine tonight and I'm going to put the feet up and just stuff America, stuff the sales. And a text message from Eugene in boxing club saying, can you take the club tonight? I really need you, buddy. And I thought, yeah. I thought, of all the things, I'm freaking disgusted. I've had a busy day, little respect. Time is not my own. My life is not my own. Now I have to go to this effing boxing club. I was in the boxing club, got them in, slammed the doors, I came in, pissed off, drove over there like a maniac, got into the club and kind of felt a wee bit settling down the minute I entered the environment. Within about 10 minutes, after getting them warmed up, I was in the ring, picking a guy in pads. And that's when I started, the stresses, strains and worries and general pissed offness just left it. And that's when I was going, this is what I should have been doing earlier on today. I could have come over here. That's when I knew, what was a massive chore turned into a massive pleasure. And I was like, right, I'm meant to be doing this. And that left it. So that was a sort of shifting point that this, no matter how bad I'm feeling or how stressful it is, get yourself over to doing something you love, like the boxing coaching, get stuck into it. And that's, I just love it. Just love it.
It's great to see that, the fact that, you know, it's, as you say, it's almost it's an energy release for you. So you're
Yeah,
getting this pent up stress and strain from business, but then this is actually an outlet for you, right?
yeah, yeah. It's an outlet, but it's passionate too. And I love nothing more than watching, you know, even when we're doing sparring sessions, just sitting, I get butterflies. I still get butterflies and I'm not sparring, just getting the boys ready and getting everybody into the corner. And, you know, it's just a buzz. It's maybe not butterfly. It's good. It's just an energy that it takes you to a far better place for me anyway. I've learned a lot in boxing, from, you know, Sean was at the Commonwealth Games. I was at the High Performance Institute with him for months before in preparation for the games. These guys start training 6 months out for the games, but like the Olympics. When you have 4 Irish champions, your guys were going to Dublin every week to the Irish High Performance Institute, the Olympic coaches, and you're watching them teach the young boys. And I learned a lot from boxing, language, boxing tips, techniques, moves, and mindset that has paid off in business, sales, and likewise.
You say, I mean, when you're boxing, do you? I take it your senses are heightened, are they? Is that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, when you're fighting, when your first couple of fights, you can be overrun by emotions. All the planning, training, visualization, hard work, good sparring. Once you get, Mike Tyson said, and once you get you know, everybody's got a plan. You get a punch in the face. What happens then? That plan turns into just a swinging match, and then you can't breathe. The more you do it, like anything, you become more conscious of everything. Your training kicks in, the hard work. So boxing then becomes very, you know, you can see every shot, you can feel every shot. You've got your 2 shots ahead in your head, right? I'm going to do this, but I'm going to hit him with that, and then move, and then your footwork. When you start boxing, it's fight or flight mode, and then it's just training people to get over that, having them come back, be consistent, and then, you know, then boxing becomes something that's very, very strategic, and it's not two guys. As a coach, when you bring someone in, maybe an untrained eye, and they just think it's two guys slugging each other. But when you're coaching it and you've been there and you've been in the fights and you've been in the spars and you know what goes on at every training camp with every fighter, you know this is super tactical, super skillful, and super focused work.
So where, I mean, where you are today, I mean, you're almost, your two passions are coming together really. It's, you know, and sales fighters, we can see there
Mhm.
is something there. You know, your vast experience, and it's a lot of experience in sales. I mean, that's 20 plus years in
Mhm.
sales, and you know, and then actually the boxing, where it's actually the decompression side for you, but also heightened senses. So those worlds are coming together for you right now, right?
And I'll probably, I would say the event that you hosted was helped piece that together. I remember doing the 14-minute TEDx, which was spitballing. As they say, you know, there was no script, there was no preparation. Can you speak for 14 minutes about your goals? It was you and the other valued members of the mastermind on that particular day said, do you realize that your energy level shifted considerably when we know you're in sales and you know what you want to do in sales, but every time you talked about boxing, do you realize it? And then the sales fighter, your man was born, this dude here was born that kind of day, or that concept was born that day. So yeah, it has come together, both have come together, and that's what's given the fire in the belly. Now I realize, oh, my two passions can come together,
Mm-hmm.
because every salesperson has to be a fighter in a way, and it just makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes perfect sense. The sales fighter, I fought for every sale, I fought for every promotion. We're fighting with ourselves, we're fighting with our colleagues to up, fighting to win business. You know, you're sparring every day with business people or prospects who don't want your product, or don't know that they need it. So you're in a fight scenario. My coaching on sales and my approach to sales was the same as fighting or boxing. Don't like using the word fighting, but boxing is, you got to plan, you got to put the hard work in, you got to do the you know, train hard and you will fight easy if you preparation plan and understand your customer and have your objections, your value propositions, your slide decks, your pitch, your script, and your visualization done. When you go into the boardroom, it should be a very easy place to be. And it's the same in the boxing ring. If you put the work in, the road work, the sprints, the spars, do what your coach tells you, um, a fight, a ring, although a tough place, is not as tough as it could be when you go in with no plan, no prep, and no training.
It's quite interesting there. You're saying you prefer boxing to use the term boxing, not fighting. Can you explain that to us?
I think, don't get me wrong, I got into many a fight and scrap, it used to be called, when I was younger. Well, it was a football, the playground, the street, part of being a boy, I guess, in Ireland. I think when I got into boxing, and even when I was boxing or kickboxing, it was still fighting. You know, I'm fighting tomorrow night, and come down to watch us, we're fighting. I think when I moved into the coaching role, or maybe it's just getting older, and I understood and studied boxing. I used to spend hours on YouTube and hundreds of tens of books on boxing. And then when you realize what boxing is, it's hit and don't get hit. It's a science, it's an art, it's a skill. You kind of go, this isn't fighting, you know. And when you're trying to talk to some people, my sister to getting kids that, you know, when I'm recommending boxing now to people, get them into boxing. It's not, I don't get them into fighting, get them into boxing. It'll teach him so much self-discipline. It'll work with fitness, his mindset, his confidence, and he's learning a really good. It's not about fighting anymore. It's about learning a skill, an art, a movement. You know, the first thing I teach people in boxing isn't to throw a punch or isn't to throw a jab or stuff. It's your feet. Working the thing that we call the box, using the box, it's hit and don't get into position, get your shots off, get out. So that isn't fighting, that's boxing.
And ironically, I mean, that's very similar to sales, right? You know, is to get in there, just to be effective and you know, almost watch your footwork.
Exactly. Get in, don't get marked up, get your job done, shake hands and get out, get the deal done, and move on to the next.
Because it's actually, I mean, in boxing, and there's a lot of respect, really, isn't there? You know, there's a lot of respect and a lot of, you know, because as you say, if someone mistakes the term fight, which, you know, is not there, but boxing is really quite respectful. It's quite honourable sport.
It is. I mean, I seen when I moved from kickboxing world, where you were changing in a changing room across the hall from your, you know, Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny was usually the venue, 900,000 people in the room. Away teams over here, home teams over here. Then, you know, so you don't see the fighter. You might see him at the weigh-in, you might not, but you're literally see him across the ring. You don't know who that. Yeah, and you know, it was different. It was. I mean, but when I got into boxing. And bear in mind, there was a younger starting, the guys from 13, 14, 15-year-old box. We're all they're all in the same changing room. Their clubs knew each other from years. You know, the two coaches would have been standing having a cup of tea and a bit of banter. Yet they might have two. So it was different for me seeing it from that side. But the respect in boxing and kickboxing, I must admit, is huge. Yep, you've got to be a warrior. You've got to get in there. You've respect pre-fight. You've got respect in the ring. But when the bell goes, you're there to do a job. Everybody let's just say everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to look good, and everybody wants to show that their training has paid off. I mean, when I had my first kickboxing fight, it was an absolute war, and there was no love. I got warned by the referee for trying to throw an elbow. It was just in the heat of battle. The other guy too, a couple of low blows and a couple of cheap shots, and it was war, no love. And he was from Lurgan Kickboxing Club, Lurgan Bulldogs. So it was a war. The biggest, warmest embrace when the bell went. The two of us, 15 minutes later, we're sitting having a beer and just enjoying, you know. So, you know, there's that element to it. There's definitely no bad blood, and it is all hugely about respect.
It almost sounds slightly like your first trip out, you know, on selling insurance, you know, sort of that initial sort of turn down and then sort of keeping going until you sort of got your first and then second sale.
Persistence, yeah.
Persistent pays, yeah. So I love the way you've actually, so the book, you've put a bit of a structure to the book as well, and can you talk us through that?
Yeah. Again, you know, the power of a mastermind, I guess. You know, you might have an idea, but when you share it, one mind, being open up to 4 or 5 hours, you can get the team together, you know, give me some thought, bringing this fighting or the boxing element, sales fighters as opposed to sales boxer, obviously works much better in that respect. But yeah, you know, the idea around the book was taking the concepts of boxing, 12 rounds, you know, the various stages, novice, you then become an elite novice, a novice. Everybody starts as an amateur, a novice amateur. Then the highest point you can be is an elite amateur. Then after you're elite, you become a professional, and every professional wants to be a world champion. So, and as we know in the championships in boxing, there's 12 rounds. So to be a world champion, you got to go 12 rounds. to be crowned world champion. The championship rounds, 10, 11, 12. So the idea was to build the book around that. You know, let's, instead of having 10 chapters initially, the mastermind team said, what do we call them, rounds? Right, that's a great idea. That's exactly what it is. And then what do we do 12 as opposed to 10? Right, okay. I think you might have been the one that said that and caused me to have to find 2 more chapters they write about, which has worked well. So, and then each round kind of building each. So it's 12 rounds to mindset success for salespeople, and there's going to be an element of branding. It's what's worked for me in boxing and in sales. So, you know, starting with the number one, every round chapter principle builds off the other. You can't be successful in boxing without the jab. So, you know, the basic fundamentals in round 1. Round 2, then moving up and how to punch it. So each round, in my mind, there might be a change of flow, but each round builds off the other. In my head as well, it's like a sort of Netflix effect. You know, when you watch a great documentary, you read one round or watch one episode and go, I fucking need to watch the next one. I need to watch the next one. Each one builds, because that's the way it's been designed. And then you come to the end, the 12 rounds, and then there's a bonus round. So just like boxing, everyone builds off it. It's teaching you from the fundamentals to the stuff that the high performers do, the world champions do. And if you make it through the 12 rounds and you live and breathe these principles and strategies, which has a mix of, there's theory in there. There's the theory that has to be said and taught and understood. There's real world stories. Those stories could be coming from the world, other people. A lot of them are coming from mine. Some are, so it's, and there's exercises that you've got to do. So there's a blend of everything in each chapter, each round, from theory, understanding. It's written as well, not by an academic, grammar specific, you know, author. It's more from the heart of a sort of a sales guy that's been in the trenches, who's wore the t-shirt, I guess, and it's speaking in sales and small business owners and anybody's language. What I might do, you know, I've already got ideas for other sort of books that might be reworded. Verbiage and tone will be different, but these are for the sort of sales fighter type kind of guy, small business fighter, because that's, and it's currently with an editor who's not making much edits to it because she likes the tone and style after giving her the brief. So, you know, all being well, that the avatar, that sales guy that's looking to do better, or the sales guy that's doing great that wants to do even better, or be the vice president, or get on his own business. Hopefully when they read it, the tone resonates from the start, and they'll just keep going through the chapters. And then the online learnings and the half-day workshops. You know, the workshops could involve some sparring. Who knows? Things on the table.
That's great. Well, I mean, showing that energy, and very much, you know, as you say, you're almost your natural ability, 1 for sales and 2 for coaching. You know, so it's a natural marriage come together that, you know, you can help people to, you know, again, they gotta get out there and they gotta throw the punches themselves. So you can't do it for them. But when they come back in for the reset, they come back in for, you know, the sort of come back in from that round, that you're there to help them and support them.
Yeah, you touch on something on there. The part of the book as well. I've engaged 12 salespeople that I've known over the years. They're all vice presidents or consultants, or Mike Weinberg's one of the most respected authors, sales authors in the world. A number of were Amazon and New York Times bestsellers. I've reached out to a few people and said, listen, here's what I'm doing. I want to do a bit in between each round. It's called the Coach's Corner, you know, Coach's Tip, you know, and it's explaining that particular concept, will it be goal setting or taking action or persistence. How do you use persistence, Mike? Can you give me a quick quote for the book? And 12 people have. So, yep, there's the round, the theory, the story, and then the action, take an action, or exercise. And then there's a tip from a respected sales leader as well, the Coach's Corner. So, and it's, I said, when you're writing this, bear in mind, if you had to speak it, you've got a minute, because that's all you get in a corner. You don't get 3, 5, you get 1 minute. In fact, it's less. The time the guy sits down and the time you get him off a chair, it's actually more like 50 seconds. So if you're writing it, don't give me a book, just give me a paragraph. And if you have to say it, do it in 30, 40 or 50 seconds. And that's what I've got.
I love that. So it's no, you know, you're not sort of given, as you say, it's written very, you know, in such a way that's easily digested.
Yeah.
But it's compacted. So it's not, you know, pages and pages of verse. You know, it's something you can quickly pick up, you can read it and you can understand it and implement it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, that's, I mean, like, you've like how many courses and how much have you spent? And you know, this is years coming into one book. I mean, would you have any idea how much you spent over the
Tens,
years?
tens of thousands, I guess, from books, courses, seminars, 1 day events, 2 day events, marketing. Some I've got value from, some I haven't, some I should have done more on, some I did too much on. Hey, this process that we're on, this journey is lifelong learning. I'll spend an hour tens of thousands is what I'm trying to say. So yep, I spend thousands. I'm in the market to spend more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Always looking to learn, always looking to grow, working with mentors, working with, there's so many online courses out. I kind of focused on 3 or 4 teachers, so I don't want 20 different, I'm part of the Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, Wolfpack. I like Mike Weinberg stuff, his video coaching course. Joe Conrath, the 3 top go-to people in sales because they cover the 3, B2B, BDC, and the sort of straight line method. Bob Proctor, John Ashraf, and Jack Canfield. I do vary out on the personal development side, and then looking at different marketing, Ryan Deese and all those guys. So sales, marketing, and mindset are the 3 sort of areas that I'm focused on and growing, and obviously boxing. Boxing coaching courses. So spend tens of thousands. I'll probably spend an hour, a few tens of thousands between I'm finished. And what I say to salespeople is pilots, doctors, firemen, army, soldiers, they are constantly training. They're constantly investing in themselves, or somebody's investing in something for them. We are no different. Unfortunately, in sales, when I've led companies, sales teams, I always put in for money. Let's get this training, let's get that. But if that's not available to you, then the guy that goes to the top's the guy that funds his own, takes a portion of his income, and instead of blowing it on whatever, he's put £500 into a course or a book or something. So it's so important, lifelong learning.
I mean, no different really to a boxer. It's time in the ring. It's the number of practices. It's going the extra mile. It's the early start, right?
Absolutely. We say that to every boxer, not some of my boxers as well, our boxers. This is what you got to do. If I'm, unfortunately, I won't be in the ring with you. You are.
Mm-hmm.
What I always say, your biggest, one thing that got me out of bed when I was training was, don't get me wrong, an alarm goes at 4 when you're fighting, and and it's warm in bed, and it's, sometimes as you dip the toe out, you can feel the cold in the air in the room. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake, and I've got to drive to Donegal to do this hill sprint at 4 in the morning, and the coach used to do it at 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning because that meant that people didn't go out drinking on a Saturday night. So yeah, we go and do hill sprints at Donegal. You couldn't see that where we were. It was just a vertical hill. But what the driver for me was, what's my opponent doing? He's probably doing his hill sprint. So if you do all the work, and when you're standing looking across a ring at a guy, and I tell this to boxers, if you've done the hill sprints, if you've done the sparring, if you've done the pad work, if you come to every training, if you've listened to your coach, and you've done the mindset stuff, there's nothing left out. You've done everything. There's no point in you looking across the ring and going, I wish I had went and done those 3 miles in the Sunday mornings, or I wish I had got a couple of rounds extra sparring. Because once that enters your head in the ring, or that enters your head in the boardroom, if you haven't planned properly, you're beat. That's the first punch landed without the guy throwing a punch. You're on the road to defeat. So don't leave it to chance. Don't leave it to the boardroom. Don't leave it to you're standing across from your opponent. Get it done beforehand. Train hard, fight easy.
Like that. Just out of interest, I mean, what lessons would you give to, or advice would you give to your younger self? And would you have listened?
I would have. I mean, it's kind of worked out for the best. Everything seems to work out if I've done a lot of things differently. I would have probably listened to my father a lot more, because he was trying to be a guiding influence when I was going wayward, and so that listen to and the respected elders a little bit more. I can't say I would have studied harder at school because my plan, it's all worked out, I guess. It's when I left school and realized, shit, I should have studied harder, but it's too late now. Let's just do this and get into that and stay positive. So yeah, it's hard. That's a tough one. It's kind of worked out. If I wasn't doing what I was doing, writing books or working with sales teams or consulting, then maybe I'd have a lot more criticism about my younger days than I have. But because it's kind of working out, a happy, healthy family, etc., then but I would have listened probably to my father. Might have been the number one thing.
So, I mean, what sort of daily traits do you have that allow you to sort of keep up your routine and keep up your structure?
I try. I'm not the greatest sleeper, and I don't know if that'll ever be fixed without medication or alcohol. So we don't want to go down that route too often. But
Does that come from the night shift days, maybe?
I could do. That's exactly. I used to sleep well when I was on night shifts. When I came off them and slept, I used to sleep during the day very well, but not sleep at night. So yeah, and weirdly, I was always very. That's how I studied so hard in night shift, because my mind was freaking brilliant at night. I could sit and read books and do courses. Went through all the CMAP exams in record time. I didn't. So yeah, it could be something. Maybe I'm just born to be a night owl. But yeah, getting up in the morning, and a Sunday night I map out the week ahead. I have a Google document and I have a reminder on my phone, like Brian Tracy goes up, and Sunday night, boom, plan the week. So for me, just like fighting, just like boxing, just like sales, this is taking it to a bigger level, plan the week ahead, not plan for the meeting. But so getting up a wee bit earlier just to make time for the mindset, a wee bit of visualization, entering in with your mastermind group, breathing techniques, which I've just got into. Those are the things that as I'm older that I'm getting comfort or relaxation and clarity from. Visualization. One thing I do pretty much most days is 7 areas of my life goals. I kind of write them out. Brian Tracy introduced me to that, writing out your goals every day. So 7 in 7 different areas. One thing, lastly as well, just to structure the power hour. I try to do the power hour every day, and that's 20 minutes of breath work and meditation, 20 minutes of gym in the morning, and 20 minutes of reading. And if I get that on, then everything else just seems to go well.
Well, it's quite a. I mean, it sounds like it's a great setup for the day and to bring you in. But I'm curious as well. Obviously, I suppose even like with a fight, you are having to plan for. One round is fine, but to go the whole way, you've really got to be structuring yourself and your time and your energy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Well, even when I was training for fighting or even training for sales, I found the hardest part was sometimes the mindset training. I was easier to go to the gym and smash the bag, get pads, get a few rounds sparring in. It was easy to plan out and visualize or map out and put together slide decks for presentations for boardrooms. One of the hardest things to do is sit down and actually calm down your mind and get it to settle and focus and visualize and and meditate. I could never do it for years. So some of the hardest parts is just getting that sort of mindset sort of stuff. It can be the most taxing. It seems people would think it's the most easiest. Yeah, it's the easiest thing to do, but it's probably one of the hardest jobs of that. Sitting down and visualizing and calming the mind and being able to and being consistent enough to make time for that as well. There's times I thought, what, I'd rather just go and get my head punched in a boxing club and sit down and do this 20 minutes of meditation. I have done that as well. So yeah, it's hard work. Pete, as you know, if you want to be successful, I think, or if you've got goals and aspirations, it's not just turning up to work and showing up and working hard and being positive, but there's all the background. Nobody sees me or you or anybody sitting visualizing or meditating during the day, but there's stuff that has to go on behind the scenes. It's like a committed boxer. Nobody sees him getting out of bed at 4 a.m. and pounding the roads on his own with his headset on, in the dark. So there's stuff that goes on behind the scenes that nobody sees that is what pays you back.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's not just the muscle alone is not enough. It takes the technique and the skill and being a smart boxer, being a smart fighter. Because otherwise, as you say, it all changes with a punch to the face. It all changes.
The plan goes out the window when you get a punch in the face, and that was Mike Tyson said that.
So, out of interest, I mean, what is success for you? What do you?
A younger Christy would have said money, fame, and champagne and Skittles, I guess. The older now is just being happy and enjoying what you do. Being a coach, I guess, now and being in sales, or when I was leading sales teams and being in business, is giving value back to people. If somebody stays with us in the bay, they have a great stay or a great experience. If somebody reads the book, that they get something from it. If I sell something to a hotel or a customer or whatever it might be, or consultant, I'm mentoring a guy now as well. That they get value. So that's important. That's success. Somebody coming back, getting that review on TripAdvisor now, or getting that reference for the website, or getting that, somebody saying, Christy, thanks so much for selling us that system or whatever it is. I want you to go and speak to Joe over here. He could, that's now success, I guess, for me. And once this is all over, I've got big plans to get back to Oakleaf Boxing Club. Bear in mind, I was consulting in Manchester for 6 months, 7 months before I was out of the boxing coaching scene and just in a boxing club sparring. And I was supposed to take a fight in April as well. You may have noticed on some of the matters set my black eyes a couple of times. So I was getting really back into the trenches and loving it. But when I get back now, success is I've got to go of getting somebody from, I would love to get a little kid about 11 years of age. And map out his, that's obviously got some natural raw talent, but to come to the Irish, Ulster, Irish, right through the elite and turn pro and be something special. So that's for me a goal on the boxing side that I'm going to be focusing on.
It's almost the same with what you can do with people going into sales as well, is starting up and bringing them through the ranks and
yeah,
teaching
true,
exactly
that too. So yeah, maybe making a difference. When I got into Think and Grow Rich, I wasn't a sales guy. I was probably struggling to understand the concept. Got into the book, read it, studied it, and then it changed. So a lot of it was mindset. I know specific sales training. It was just mindset training. So that's why that book, I've got lots of sales training now, tactical, strategic, and all sorts of courses I've been on. But the book's about mindset. So I think that's, if I can teach somebody that might be struggling in sales, that's had all the tactical sales training, but is falling down on the company leaderboard, he reads the book and reaches out to me, and we can change his thoughts and visions and goals using. Sometimes the sales tactics and strategies change every day, and buyers change and the value proposition change. One thing that's not going to change is mind. It's there forever, and how you use it and what it can achieve. So if I can help one person go from the bottom of the scoreboard to the top, then I'll be happy.
Brilliant. So for you, fire in the belly, how would you summarize it in one word or a couple of words?
Just living on purpose. Just living on purpose, doing what you were born to do. We used to say selling on purpose when you got good at selling. You used to sell. You could do it with your eyes closed. You walk in the room and just boom. You didn't need a script. You didn't even need to ask half the fact-finding questions. It just came, and you were helping somebody. You were emotionally and logically aligning their needs and getting them a sale. Fire in the belly is living on purpose, jumping out of bed, high-fiving yourself in the morning and just getting on with it and loving every minute of what you're doing, because it's passion, it's commitment, it's dedication, but it's also taking you to where, it's getting you from where you are to where you need to be. And the fire in the belly will get you there.
Christy, that's been phenomenal. And listen, I thank you for your time here today. Look forward to the book coming out, and I look forward to getting you back here as well to see where you're going.
Well, that's the fire in the belly. Now I've said all this stuff, so I've got to put the lighter under the belly, under the fire, or pour petrol on the fire, should I say, and really get it ignited.
Great to see it. Great to see it. Christy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
really
Pete.
appreciate it today. We'll speak to
All
you
right.
again. Cheers.
Thank you very much, sir. Pleasure.